Words for Jaya Radha Madhava. Do you need? Okay. Is that what's going on? He forgot to stand up afterwards. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Adi Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balabha Girivardhari Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira. See Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Gora Premanandi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. First day of Kartik. for our friend here. Kartik is a very special month according to the Vedic calendar. Months are determined primarily by movements of the moon. And so there's 12 lunar months. They don't exactly correspond to the solar. But this particular month is very special, called Damodara month. And during this month, in Vrindavan, the honoring of the pastime that was performed between Mother Jasoda and Krishna is honored for the whole month. Very special pastime. And the honor goes to the motherly affection of Mother Jasoda for Krishna. In the spiritual world, in Krishna Loka, so there's the universe, and then there's, on the other side of the universe is the causal ocean. And on the other side of the causal ocean is the other shore, is the spiritual sky. And in that spiritual sky, there's spiritual planets. And amongst them is Krishna Loka. So Mother Jasoda is eternally situated in the spiritual sky as the eternal mother of Krishna. There's no mother, but it's her loving affection, as if mother to son. The teaching of the Vedic literature is God is the source of everything, and every living entity is expansion from him, and each of those living entities has an eternal relationship of love. Different according to varieties of love. And one of those varieties of love is parental affection. And Mother Jasoda is that primary entity being who has the affection of mother for Krishna. And there's many others that have that affection, motherly-like affection. And that's her eternal position, Mother Jasoda. So this is chapter 9, the story of Damodara Lila, Mother Jasoda, binding Krishna with her love. It's some details. And just prior to this, the little background, is chapter 8, which is titled Krishna's Childhood Pastimes. And in chapter 8, we hear the narration of Krishna, along with all the other residents of Vrindavan, moving from where his early childhood pastimes were performed on the other side of the river Jamuna, come to this side of the river Jamuna, the western side. And from that point on, childhood pastimes of Krishna are described. And in the course of that narration, Shukadev Goswami is describing the joyfulness of the elder ladies, their occupation where Krishna grew up is taking care of cows. So they're called the cowherds, cowherd ladies, or the elder gopis. And they're having motherly affection towards Krishna as he's growing up, doing what little children do when they grow up. And they have this enormous affection for Krishna, and he's very mischievous. He does what things that little children will, mischievous things that children sometimes do, and they love it. They love him, and they come to Mother Jasoda telling Mother Jasoda, you know what your son did? This mischief, that mischief. And they're smiling and laughing and so forth. And the exaltedness of Mother Jasoda emerges out of those descriptions. And the person who's hearing, the narrator is named Shukadev. The person who's hearing from Shukadev is a king. And the king says, oh, how fortunate is Mother Jasoda. Who can say what is the extent of her fortune to have this intimate relationship? She has more of Krishna's mercy than Vasudeva and Devaki. There's a long story that comes from earlier parts of the 10th canto, but Vasudeva and Devaki were the parents because there was threat that King Kamsa might try to kill Krishna. Krishna was taken to the other side of the river Jamuna to be in the care of Mother Jasoda. So Maharaj Parikshit says, Mother Jasoda and Nanda, they're more fortunate than Krishna's mother and father, Vasudeva and Devaki. What pious activities have they undergone to get all of that mercy? That's towards the end of chapter 11. And Shukadeva Goswami starts to narrate a pastime. That's a little complicated, but the pastime has to do with from the spiritual world, Nanda and Jasoda expand themselves, partial expansions of themselves, into the heavenly realm. And in the heavenly realm, there are these two personalities, husband and wife, named Drona, the husband, and Dara, the wife. And Drona and Dara are anxious to have a son. They offer prayers to Lord Brahma, who grants them, very well, so be it. You can have Krishna as your son, because just now Krishna is going to appear. So you appear on earth, and as in your expansions within Yasoda and Nanda, and you'll have Krishna as your son. So that's an explanation given by Shukadev. And so this chapter 9 begins, where Shukadev perceives that Maharaj Parikshit isn't very contented with that answer. It's not that you can, by austerities or something, pious activities, something, become the eternal father, mother of Krishna. That's not how it happens. So then he describes in the first 22 verses of this section that we're about to read, how special is Mother Jasoda. She is the eternal parental affection, motherly affection personality in the spiritual realm. And as the mother of Krishna, she has a very, very special position. So that's what we're going to be reading. It's in relation to the Damodara Lila. And here comes a chapter summary, chapter 9, and then the first 2 verses. While Mother Jasoda was allowing Krishna to drink her breast milk, she was forced to stop because she saw the milk pan boiling over on the oven. The maid servants being engaged in other business, she stopped allowing Krishna to drink from her breast and immediately attended to the overflowing milk pan. Krishna became very angry because of his mother's behavior and devised a means of breaking the pots of yogurt. Because he created this disturbance, Mother Jasoda decided to bind him. These incidents are described in this chapter. So the binding of Mother Jasoda, binding of Krishna by Mother Jasoda. One day, chapter summary, the maidservants being engaged in other work, Mother Jasoda was churning the yogurt into butter herself. And in the meantime, Krishna came and requested her to allow him to suck her breast milk. Of course, Mother Jasoda immediately allowed him to do so. But then she saw that the hot milk on the oven was boiling over. And therefore she immediately stopped allowing Krishna to drink the milk of her breast and went to stop the milk on the oven from overflowing. Krishna, however, having been interrupted in his business of sucking the breast, was very angry. He took a piece of stone, broke the churning pot, and entered a room where he began to eat the freshly churned butter. When Mother Jasoda, after attending to the overflowing milk, returned and saw the pot broken, she could understand that this was the work of Krishna, and therefore she went to search for him. When she entered the room, she saw Krishna standing on the utkala, a large mortar for grinding spices. Having turned the mortar upside down, he was stealing butter hanging from a swing and was distributing the butter to the monkeys. As soon as Krishna saw that his mother had come, he immediately began to run away. And Mother Jasoda began to follow him. After going some distance, Mother Jasoda was able to catch Krishna, who, because of his offense, was crying. Mother Yashoda, of course, threatened to punish Krishna if he acted that way again, and she decided to bind him with rope. Unfortunately, when the time came to knot the rope with which she wanted to bind him was short by a distance equal to the width of 2 fingers. When she made the rope longer by adding another rope, she again saw that it was short by 2 fingers. Again and again she tried, and again she found the rope too short by 2 fingers. Thus she became very tired, and Krishna, seeing his affectionate mother so tired, allowed himself to be bound. Now, being compassionate, he did not show her his unlimited potency. After Mother Jasoda, being bound Krishna, and became engaged in other household affairs, Krishna observed 2 Yamala Arjun trees, which were actually Nala Kuvara and Manigriva, 2 sons of Kuvara, who had been condemned by Narada Muni to become trees. Krishna, by his mercy, now began to proceed toward the trees to fulfill the desire of Narada Muni. That's chapter summary. Do you know this story? You've heard it before? Yeah? Hear it again and again, and then you'll dream about it. Especially during this month, we'll hear it again and again, and again and again, and you'll have dreams about Mother Jasoda binding Krishna. You'll see. So this is the beginning of chapter 9, and it starts with Shukadeva Goswami speaking. He's speaking to the king, Maharaj Parikshit. One day, when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maidservants were engaged in other household affairs, she personally began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about all those activities. Purport. This is Prabhupada's writing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, quoting from Vaishnava Toshani of Srila Sanatana Goswami, says that the incident of Krishna's breaking the pot of yogurt and being bound by Mother Yashoda took place on the Diwali day, or Deepa Malika. Give some details. Even today in India, this festival is generally celebrated very gorgeously in the month of Kartik. That's this month, starts today, by fireworks and lights, especially in Bombay. It is to be understood that among all the cows of Nanda Maharaj, several of Mother Jasoda's cows ate only grasses so flavorful that the grasses would automatically flavor the milk. Mother Yashoda wanted to collect the milk from these cows, make it into yogurt, and churn it into butter personally, since she thought that the child Krishna was going to the houses of neighboring gopas and gopis to steal butter, because he did not like the milk and yogurt ordinarily prepared. Paragraph. While churning the butter, Mother Yashoda was singing about the childhood activities of Krishna. It was formerly a custom that if one wanted to remember something constantly, he would transform it into poetry or have this done by a professional poet. It appears that Mother Yashoda did not want to forget Krishna's activities at any time. Therefore, she poeticized all of Krishna's childhood pastimes, such as the killing of Putana, Agasura, Shakatasura, Trinavarta, and while churning the butter, she sang about these activities in poetical form. This should be the practice of persons eager to remain Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. This incident shows how Krishna conscious Mother Yashoda was. To stay in Krishna consciousness, we should follow such persons. And here's, we're going to read two more commentaries, starting with Vishwanath. Summarizes first. The 9th chapter describes how Krishna stopped Mother Yashoda from churning the yogurt in order to drink milk, and how Yashoda put Krishna down to go elsewhere. Angry because he was not finished drinking, he broke the churning pot, stole butter, and was bound by Mother Yashoda. Vishwanath comments, "Oh, Krishna, you bind up the people who are engulfed in theft, anger, and other low qualities and make them cry. Now you, involved in theft and full of anger, have been bound by Mother Yashoda and are crying." The astonishing, uncommon parental love with Krishna as the object and Nanda and Yashoda as the shelter must have been due to most extraordinary, unparalleled sadhana. That was from the previous chapter. This most astonishing and uncommon parental love, Vatsalya Prem, wherein Krishna became the object, Vishaya, and Nanda and Yashoda were the shelter, Ashraya, was, again he says, the result of a most extraordinary and unparalleled form of sadhana. Parikshit had asked that question to Shukadev, but the story of Drona and Dara did not reveal such extraordinary sadhana. Seeing that Parikshit was not too pleased, Shukadev told him about Krishna's Damodara Lila. To give the real answer to Parikshit's question, here's the question from the previous chapter. What auspicious activities did Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj perform to achieve the perfection of getting Krishna as their son? So this is the actual answer. One day, on the festival day of the lamps, Yashoda began churning yogurt, absorbed in thought. How, from among countless cows, there were 7 or 8, rare as a horse with one black ear, who were eating the most fragrant grass and gave the most tasty, fragrant milk, which would be relished by her son. She personally churned because she was making butter for her son. Quote, how could servants who burn the milk know how to do this? Driven by a stubbornness arising from Vatsalya Prem, parental affection, she concluded that others could not do the job properly and resolved that from today, she would prepare the boy's butter, milk, and other eatables. They would be so tasty that he would not go to others' houses to steal. She was churning the best yogurt from among countless samples that she had prepared the day before with her own hands. Thinking of the pastimes of Krishna made into songs by the women of the village and collected by her, Mother Yashoda began to sing those songs in order to pacify her longing to see Krishna, who was sleeping in another room. And one more commentary is Jiva Goswami, who writes, giving an example of an extraordinary pastime suitable to show the real answer to Maharaj Parikshit's question, and giving up the subject of stealing yogurt and butter, Shukadev remembers and then begins to describe that pastime. Yashoda means she who gives fame. Yasha is fame, and da means to give. Yashoda, she who gives fame. She gave fame to Krishna by showing how he is controlled by prema, by agreeing to be tied up. Since she is half of her husband's body, Nanda's greatness is also suggested in the word Nanda Gehini. One day, when all the servants were engaged in other household chores, which were not daily, Yashoda was churning yogurt superior to all other yogurt in order to offer it to the deity for her child's protection, and then offer it to Krishna to eat, since she reserved only the best for him. She churned the yogurt with certainty, Ni and I. Otherwise, it was impossible that she would alone churn excellent milk from unlimited cows famous in scripture and local culture. Just a little bit further and we're finished for this class. The others in the house were engaged in special jobs, giving up their regular services since all others were busy. It is understood that the cow herds also on that day were going here and there since they were arranging for the sacrifice to Indra in Braja, since that event took place at the same time as the pastime of Damodara during Kartik month. Indra worship took place during this month, for according to custom and scripture, worship of Govardhan, which replaced worship of Indra, takes place on the first lunar day of the waxing moon in Kartik month. Autumn is described as follows from chapter 20 of Canto 10. In all the towns and villages, people held great festivals, performing the Vedic fire sacrifice for honoring and tasting the first grains of the new harvest. According to the phrase Indram, Indraya, Kamastu, one should worship Indra to fulfill all desires of the senses. That's from Canto 2, Chapter 3. Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 3 is encouraging devotional service to Krishna, but if one doesn't take shelter of devotional service to Krishna, then one will worship this one, that one, the other one, to achieve this thing, that thing, the other thing. So one of the things that Indra is worshipped for is to fulfill all desires of the senses. So they were accustomed to doing that in Braja. Indra was the devata worshipped at this time. And the final paragraph, Yashoda remembered with great affection all the songs about Krishna that she sung in the assembly as she churned the yogurt. When there was opportunity for singing, she sang. The word cha indicates she also remembered all the other songs as well. She churned the yogurt and sang at the same time. She sang various songs of various poets and those she composed at that instant. There's more commentary will continue in the evening. A few summary points. In various parts of this early section of Canto 10, the various persons who associate with Krishna are described. The servants of Krishna, the friends of Krishna, the elders of Krishna, and the young gopis, these principal relationships. Servitude, friendship, parental affection, conjugal love. They're present in Vrindavan in super excellent ways. Super excellent meaning the residents of Vrindavan, although Krishna shows his divinity, the opulences of the Supreme Lord, who is the source of everything, creator of everything, controller of everyone and everything, etc. Although he exhibits that capacity, they're too much overwhelmed with loving affection in the sweetness mood that it doesn't process. It bounces. It just washes over them. Like the one reference that she previously, Mother Jasoda was breastfeeding Krishna, and he yawned as he was lying on his back on her lap. And when he yawned, he showed her the entire universe within him, because everything is within him. So to show his divinity, he showed the whole universe within him. And it bounced. She just went on like, what am I seeing? Maybe I didn't get enough rest last night or something. So she just moved right along. So in this situation, Krishna wanted to receive her breast milk, and he indicated that without even speaking. There's a detail that says, as she was churning for getting some butter, he just reached up and grabbed the rope. And she knew what that meant. Don't churn the butter. He's a little boy. So she's his mother. She can churn the milk or churn the butter or not. But she stopped because she knew what it meant. And there's further description that goes along. She placed Krishna on her lap, had his legs straddling her waist, and put her arms behind his back, and she was just gazing into his eyes lovingly, like a mother might do with a small child. And she was mesmerized, like, in a transcendental way beyond how a mother might feel towards their small child. She is a pure devotee and the source of everything, gazing into his eyes with her eyes. That there's charm in that image, that scene, that experience that she was experiencing as a mother. But then she proceeded to feed her little child, breastfeed Krishna. And the whole Lila unfolds. But the point is, there's a special sweetness about Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan that outside of Vrindavan, it just doesn't touch the same kind of relationship. Like, for example, from the previous chapter, Vasudeva and Devaki, we hear Vasudeva and Devaki had the good fortune of, due to past lives' austerities, having Krishna as their son. He agreed to become their son. But the very evening at midnight when Krishna was born, he was transferred by Krishna's request and then also their concern for his safety, because a wicked Kamsa might try to kill him, that he was transferred to Yashoda and Nanda's care. And for his whole childhood, up until he became a youth, they didn't experience his pastimes. Whereas Mother Jasoda and Nanda, 24/7, they were with Krishna and his pastimes and the other residents of Vrindavan. So the fortune of Nanda and Jasoda exceeds even that of Vasudeva and Devaki. The sweetness of exchanges, and it has to do with their mood of love for him, but that was their service in that mood of love for him. They were given that privilege, honor, service, and it was Krishna's delight to reciprocate with them in that way. We find this again and again in Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. There's something very, very special about their affection for Krishna, and in turn reciprocating with their affection for Krishna, Krishna's affection for them. It's in a special category, even amongst those who have love of God. Amongst those who have love of God, commonly, proportionately, there are those that have love of God, recognizing His majesty. Lord God Almighty, as we would sing in our hymnals in church every Sunday. And so let us praise Him and sing His praises, because He's almighty and so forth. The residents of Vrindavan overlook that almightiness, and because of the intensity of loving absorption they have in these different ways of relationships. And they're just, the boys are playing with Krishna, the parents are affectionately protecting Krishna and feeding Krishna and so forth. Each of them in their own way, and even amongst the categories, varieties and varieties. And there's names and there's descriptions of those exchanges and the emotions they would feel and the happiness Krishna would feel because of their variegated love for him. His fullness knows no limit. And one of the purposes of Krishna's displaying these pastimes that he is displaying, that we're reading about, is to rekindle or reawaken the natural love that all living entities have for the source of everything. And this sweetness aspect of Krishna and Vrindavan is especially amazing. He's a most lovable person, lovable object. And in different ways. The why that is so is being presented. A few small points. It says repeatedly, the Mother Yasoda was churning yogurt. You ever churn yogurt? No. We did. And in our one temple in New York, we on the Damodara month pastime, we arranged for clay pots, and to demonstrate, well, a short lesson. You can make butter from milk, but yogurt makes better butter. If you convert the milk first to yogurt and churn the yogurt, it makes better butter. So we actually did it. You know, a clay pot and little paddles that go into the clay pot and a butter churn and holding the, it's a whole procedure. And the rope that goes like this back and forth, and you make butter. Butter comes out of the butter pot or the yogurt pot. So she was making butter, and the background goes like this. It's not mentioned. It's mentioned in the previous chapter, but the Mother Yasoda's friends, the elder cowherd men and ladies, would report to Mother Yasoda, your son is a butter thief. No, stealing is bad in any culture. It's bad. However, when Krishna was stealing, it wasn't somebody else's butter. It was, he's the proprietor of everything. So it's his own butter. It wasn't stealing somebody else's something. What he was doing was, he was having loving pastimes with his loving devotees. And they would delight. And the clever ways he would come up with to steal butter. Mother Jasoda would say, "You have so much butter. If he likes butter, just give him butter." They said, "We try, but he'll refuse because he just likes to steal." And then when we tried to prevent him from stealing, he'll find some clever way to steal anyways. And if he comes into our homes and there's nothing to steal, he throws a tantrum and he'll go in the back room and pinch the babies and make them cry and then run away. He's so naughty. And they're saying all these things in front of Krishna. And he's looking at his mother like, she's going to punish me. And he's looking very fearful. And they see him looking fearful. And they smile and they embrace him. It's a type of loving exchange. And he would do it again and again and again. And again and again. And she said, "I don't believe you. Do you know how many cows Nanda Maharaj has? Do you think there's any shortage of butter and yogurt and milk products?" So I don't believe you. But she kept hearing these reports. So that's how it leads into this beginning of this chapter. You know what? Maybe because the butter and the and yogurt just aren't made right. I mean, after all, these persons who assist me sometimes, they burn the milk. So maybe they don't know how to make butter. So I'm going to make the butter. And there's different versions that says it was Diwali. Diwali is a big festival coming up in about 2 weeks. And so it's a big holiday in people from Vedic culture. So I just give them one version says, I'll give them the day off. You can go home, be with your families. I'll make the butter. And she gathered, there's different descriptions, but she gathered the butter from very, very special cow. She knew very refined taste. She knew which types of grass with which cows made which flavor of milk. Very cultured personality. I'm reminded of a story I think Prema Tarangati sent to me. One devotee, a young girl, a little older than you, when she was growing up, she went to Gurukul, lived in the UK, and one of her favorite personalities was Mother Jamuna. And Mother Jamuna taught her bhakti in many different ways, different aspects of bhakti. She taught her how to appreciate the subtleties of the taste of what you have taken. Taste the bhakti that's gone into the cooking and the ingredients and so forth. And she told her this one story, that Jamuna found some very, very, very special grain. She was told it's very, very special grain. So she bought that special grain, and she personally took the grain and ground it into flour, and she personally prepared the freshly ground flour to make some bread or chapatis or something with that flour. And she offered it to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada just took a little piece, put it on the tip of his tongue, and was chewing it, and described exactly the type of grain. Exactly the type of grain. Like there's a certain name to a certain type of grain, just by tasting it. And then said to her something like, if you had left it on the fire for another 2 seconds, it would have made it tasted even better. Meaning, he was demonstrating to her that his taste was refined. Now, it doesn't mean that he couldn't accept anything from anybody, because it wasn't a refined way of presenting that something. But nonetheless, he had refined taste, as Mother Yashoda had refined taste. She knew this grass with that cow mixed together makes most flavorful milk. So she had planned it the day before. She fed the grass, she milked the cows, she transformed the milk into yogurt, and here she is preparing yogurt for Krishna, meditating on her in her parental affection, meditating on pleasing her son. I mean, mothers do that anyway, but we can only imagine Mother Yashoda's meditation on pleasing Krishna. And while she's doing this, she's her mind is fully absorbed in Krishna. Maya Saktamanak Partha. Yogam Yunjan Marashra. She's fully absorbed in thought of Krishna, and one of the ways that she maintained that absorption was singing. Culture in rural life, in way Krishna was growing up in India, in cultures all over the world. But people take messages that they like, they compose it into poetry, or have someone compose it into poetry, and they would then sing the song that was poetically lyricized to remember that which they want to remember. I mean, it's nothing new. It's just part of culture. But Mother Jasoda was doing like that. Her own spontaneous songs, songs of others, because Krishna's pastimes are so attractive. And it's described in this way. When the cowherd boys, because they were with Krishna all day long, and at the end of the day, as they're coming back with the cows, they would be singing songs of Krishna's activities that day and previously. And by the time they reached the village, they'd have a whole songbook composed, a whole series of songs. And they would sing those songs to the parents, and the parents would then hear the songs, they would compose their own songs. And it was just a very natural, joyful activity. I had a little experience of this in Vrindavan. We, many times, multiple times, have been to Vrindavan for visits, for pilgrimage. And one of the nicest places to go the very first day is the appearance place of Radharani. And in the because I would go by a taxi and everyone else would go by buses, I got there early. So I'm sitting there, the morning sun, a little chilly because it's in the fall season, and over there in the field, what they were harvesting wheat, because in that part of the country wheat grows. It's kind of one of their staples. Rice in South India and wheat in North India. So they were the whole village was out there cutting the stalks of wheat and thrashing the wheat, and taking the stalks and hitting it. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but loosening the grain from the chaff. And they were going around in a circle, and they were maybe 200 yards away, but they were singing like they were having a blast. It wasn't work. It was work, but they were just having a blast. And I don't know what they were singing because it was in local language, but I can guess it had something to do with Krishna. the way, the mood, and the fever of the fervent way that they were doing this, and joyful way, and that's their life. Krishi Gorakshavanijam Vaishakarva Swabhavajam in Vrindavan. That's their activity. Cow protection, production of grains, and marketing those things. Vanijam, trade and commerce. Those are occupations for that social group of people. And, but Krishna's at the center. It was, I liked it. Very attractive. Very attractive. So Mother Yasoda was doing like that, singing. So you can just picture churning. I mean, there's some detail that says the sound of the wooden paddles inside the butter churn pot. It was like a drum. Boom, 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 boom. And she had bangles on her arms. And as she was moving her arms back and forth, churning the butter, it was like kartals. Ching, 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 boom, boom, boom. Ching, 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 boom, boom, boom. She was having a one-lady band. She didn't need a chorus. And she was absorbed. It wasn't work. It was work, but it wasn't work. It was an expression of love for her son, Krishna. Several times it said that she was doing that because she was feeling separation, not seeing Krishna because he was asleep in another room. It wasn't like, he's taking a nap now, I get a little break. It was her mind is absorbed in Krishna. That's Mother Yasoda. The love of Mother Yasoda is like that. For the personality of Godhead, who she doesn't see as the personality of Godhead, just her beloved son, who is very mischievous, and he's going to do some mischief shortly. Okay, so that's the beginning of the first day, the first class, and the first day of the month of Kartik. Did you see the moon last night? Did you see the moon last night? You saw it in the morning. Really bright, full moon. That's the first day. Shankadari said it lasts until 10 a.m. But it was full moon last night. Really bright. And then, the waning, and then this Diwali is the first day of the waxing moon. And so it's 28 days, waning and waxing. And so this month is very special. It's the Damodara month. Absorption in this wonderful pastime. So let's see if there's some discussion or comments. Nice way to begin the month. Thank you for that suggestion. I asked her if she thought it should be something, special for this setting, and she said just well, Krishna's arrangement, huh? Any thoughts, anyone? okay. Do you have a favorite Krishna pastime? When he does what? Bhutana? You know what I'm going to be speaking about when I come back at Thanksgiving time? That whole pastime. Ooh, stay tuned. What about Krishna's lifting Govardhan Hill? That's nice too. You like that one? Yeah. That comes this month as well, later this month. Govardhan. Thus, like we heard, the honoring for crop production, rain is needed, and so with gratitude for the rain that's been supplied, a yajna in honor of Indra is being offered. If you can remove your mask, I can hear you better.
Maharaj is kind of related to this class, but more broadly. I feel like there are knots in the heart which sometimes blocks from hearing.
It blocks
From hearing properly or chanting properly. So one question is about the mercy, the whole month of Damodar, mercy and effort. It seems like even the effort is up to Krishna's mercy. So what does it mean to make an effort? Because sometimes when you're chanting, there seems to be a connection, and sometimes there isn't, even when you feel like you're putting an equal amount of effort. So I just want to understand a little bit better. Mercy is completely in Krishna's hand, but even the effort seems to be up to Krishna, that we are able to focus and...
Well, the connection, just a little clarification from what I heard. He wants you to shut it off. The sense of connection is the combination of the two, effort and mercy. But one may continue to make effort and feel or not feel the connection, but that doesn't mean that, the effort is faulty or something. It's just let's take to help what I want to say is take a look at Srila Prabhupada's coming to America, and he came repeatedly feeling mission impossible. I don't have the qualification, and what's on the other side is also it's mission impossible. But he went forward, propelled by the instruction of a spiritual master to do so. And repeatedly, even, he would say, I had no idea that there would be a result. I was just So the effort is the effort. The sense of connection is, in this case, just feeling connected to the instruction, because that was what was propelling him. Now, even with the instruction that was propelling him, there are comments that he would go regularly, at least once a month, to the boat dock and ask, when's the next boat going back? And then the man who would give him the answer said, Swamiji, you never get on the boat. So he was meditating on, it's the success is not there. But he stayed because the order was there. He never went back, or didn't go. He didn't go by boat. So it's not that his effort was wavering, but the reciprocation, the sense of mission successful wasn't happening. Well, no, so in between, was there a sense of connection? There's definitely a sense of connection because the order was being fulfilled, whether the result was there or not. So same with your using specifically your chanting. There's a reason. It's good to connect with the reason for chanting, not just the chanting, but the purpose behind. And so why is there that instruction? And connect with the instruction. Due to unsteadiness of bhakti, it will waver. That is to say, the clouds of the sky may be thicker, or they may be thinner, or maybe a clear sky, but the sun is always shining. So your experience of that connection may be this or that, and the unsteadiness or the ups and the down has certainly it has everything to do with our conditioning, and our conditioning may then also waver our effort, but we just continue making the effort according to our capacity, with faith that purification will take place, and the sense of connection will also, the signal gets stronger, the signal gets weaker, the signal gets stronger, the signal gets weaker. But you just stay the course. So your specific question is, it seems to you that the effort itself is a matter of mercy. It's more that the sense of connectivity is a matter of mercy, having to do with how Krishna is going to interact with you, and the degree of covering that each one of us has accumulated and has to cleanse. Those are the two variables, not necessarily the endeavor part.
The effort part, as you mentioned, is more...
That's in your hand. It's not Krishna's mercy. I mean, Krishna gives you free will. You can exercise it or not.
If my connection is more with the instruction in order to make an effort, so that is mercy from the spiritual master?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you asking, in fact, even to make an effort requires mercy? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Well, yes and no. In one sense, yes. In another sense, no. Because we're going to make an effort to do something anyways, because we're living entities. And to direct effort towards Krishna, then yes, that's mercy. But supposing they're slackening, then that's a free will choice. It's not, mercy got withdrawn. That's the no. Getting distracted by stuff isn't that mercy got withdrawn. So it's kind of like the saying, if you won't find any good qualities in me, but if you find a good quality, you can understand that those merciful persons in my life, they placed it there. So mercy is the good stuff, and the other stuff is I take responsibility for. My slackness. and my, conditioning and covering and so forth. So the answer to your question is yes and no. There must be something that a well-wishing person cannot do is have the other person say yes. Just like, as a mother, you have children, and you may extend yourself and extend yourself and extend yourself. And sometimes from the child's side, the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. So the free will choice is operative. And all that you can do is be a good parent and allow free will choices to be made. You can't make the free will choices for them. You can do what you can do as a caregiving mother, but you can't make choices for them. So, same. Okay.
So just continuing on her question, so sometimes the effort that is made, it's only maybe visible on a subtle platform or in the heart platform and not necessarily manifest externally just because of the force of circumstances.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I guess
Sure.
it's a comment and just wanting to hear further on that. Because I find that, I mean, this is something I've had to learn repeatedly in my life, but I also see in others that effort doesn't necessarily mean working very hard, but it's the heart movement.
You can take it. You can the very same point you're making can go way over on the other end of the spectrum, and that is some persons may be externally making effort, and their heart is not oriented properly.
Yeah.
So, but there is some effort, even to do the cosmetic. There's some effort, and if it's not at the heart level, it's just not going to be effective. Hey. 1, 2, 3.
Guru Maharaj, another question relates to surrender.
With
surrender.
Surrender.
Yeah. So sometimes you may act in a way that is with the guidance that you've received. You may do certain things, but sometimes the mind is always kind of questioning this or that, or opportunities kind of present themselves. So how can I be certain that what my decisions are in line with the original surrender, because of which
Is your question having to do with motive or intention
or just
behavior?
How to sustain long-term surrender?
Well, it will only be possible through purification. Say it negatively. Without purification, It won't be sustained. Which is connected to your question about, is acting rightly, making good choices entirely mercy? It's connected. You see the connection? No? We're mixed devotees in different degrees, even at different times. So there's something that's genuine and there's something that's cosmetic. So surrender is genuine. Your question is, what about the unsteadiness of surrender and what may look like surrender, but it's not really surrender. It's not with the right intention.
That what I'm doing is in line with that surrender.
Over time, I mean, until you're pure, you won't know, or until you're pure, you can assume it's a mix, and when there's a mix, it's sometimes more this and sometimes more that. It's unsteady. Unsteady bhakti is like that. Sometimes it moves around. So you want to know, how do I know that's in line? And it's over a period of time. It's purification, and otherwise you won't know. And over a period of time, there's steadiness, consistency at the execution level and the heart level. Over time. There's steadiness in bhakti. And another way is when there's some tribulation. What happens when there's tribulation? Where does your heart and where does your mind go? Where does your behavior go? That's a good test. So until we're steady, until there's purity, it'll be unsteady. Anishita bhakti precedes nishtha. And nishtha is the result of the stage where impurities are largely gone or nearly gone. We're not there. So how do you know when there's steady? And that takes time. It's the stage of purification. You look like you're not satisfied. Okay? Okay. Anyone else? You have something on your screen there? Yes? Okay, please.
Krishna performs many pastimes in Vrindavan.
Krishna performs many pastimes in Vrindavan.
Why we are celebrating this particular Lila throughout this month?
Because it's very special. And what's very special about it is, we read in the introduction, the chapter summary. Krishna is, Shukadeva Goswami wants to show how exalted is the love of Mother Jasoda. Her love is so exalted that she controls the Supreme Controller. He's controlled by her love. He who can't be controlled is controlled by her love. How great is Mother Jasoda? There's many other sub-elements, but that's, the most outstanding one. It's, the exaltedness of the residents of Vrindavan, and particularly Mother Jasoda, and her loving feelings for Krishna. Now, there are certainly other pastimes in Vrindavan where loving nature towards Krishna by other associates of Krishna are found. But this is very special.
The next question is by Svetadvipa Prabhu. Was there Damodar month celebrated during the time of Srila Prabhupada's physical presence?
Yes.
If so, how was it observed?
Two or three ways. One, the singing of the Damodarastaka song every evening, offering a lamp. That was one. The encouragement during the Damodar month, because it's in Rupa Goswami's writing, so it was presented, to make a vrata, or a Kartik vrata, because of the auspiciousness, and uphold that Kartik vrata, because that will help us to make spiritual progress. And during Prabhupada's time, extra number of devotees going to Vrindavan to take part in observing the Kartik month in Vrindavan, because it's mentioned in Rupa Goswami's writings. So those are three ways Kartik month was observed. Anything else? No. Like to contribute anything to this discussion? You're just enjoying listening. Okay. Anyone else? Because you said the pastime with Putana is your favorite, I'll see that you get a copy of all the paintings that's going to go into a PowerPoint presentation about the whole Putana pastime. Okay? We'll see that your mother gets a copy, and then you can see it. So as we're discussing it, you could have it right in front of you and learn the story, because through images, through paintings, it helps to fix the message. You've heard this phrase, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Have you heard that one before? A picture speaks 1,000 words. That is to say, you can describe and describe and describe and describe, and then that may develop an image in your mind. And if an artist portrays the image on canvas or paper, something, then that's the 1,000 words. We'll have many images. Your favorite pastime. So then you can read it again and again, and hear it again and again, remember it again and again, look at the pictures again and again, and your mind will be absorbed in Krishna. And you can tell others about that story. Thanksgiving holiday. That's what we're going to do. Yeah? Oh. Maybe you can write a poem about Krishna and Putana, if you're inspired. Okay? And if you like, you're not too shy, I won't have to say who the author is, but I can read it. Thanksgiving time. It's 1 month away. or 3 weeks away. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, Prabhupada Ki. Go ahead.